Hey everybody, it's Friday afternoon, and these last couple of weeks have been kind of pivotal for me. I have really made some leaps in how I think about things, how I think about life, how I think about quote unquote death, how I think about the supposed afterlife. And I've come to some conclusions. So really kind of ties back to what I was talking about this fall when I said, I think I've about got this thing figured out. And I was doing a lot of work with law of attraction, and I have talked about the simulation before and how you can prove it to yourself with the different exercises that you can do. And I did those exercises. I was really doing them and really digging in and just really trying to just kind of experiment with my reality and how I can influence that reality, and the results were really really quite amazing. So I'm really convinced about this simulation theory. And the thing is, it's really kind of shook my world up again. So right after I figured that out, I went through like a whole dark night of the soul and all of that again, which makes a lot of sense now. Um, so it's really going to, I think it's going to impact how I do readings going forward. And I don't know how that's going to look, to be honest with you. Um, I think I'm just going to have to kind of figure it out as I go, I suppose. I know a lot of people are going to be really resistant to this information. And some people find it really unsettling. So I guess we'll start with, well, I'm not going to go into the whole simulation theory. You can look that up. I'm gonna assume that you already know what that means. And so, okay, so let's talk about one of the ways you can identify simulation theory. Okay, so I don't know how many of you have had an experience where you've been in an accident, or you've had an illness, or some kind of situation that should have ended either really badly or with you dying. Okay, and I'll give you an example. I've had many of these, so too many to count. Um, so I had a car accident in 90. Ooh, I want to say it was right after my daughter was born. So it would have been 90, probably 94. I was going to work and I was driving. I had at the time this little tiny Subaru sports car. And I mean, it was small, this little small sports car with T tops. And obviously, they don't make them anymore. Anyway, I was just trotting down the highway. And the next thing I know, these people pulled out in front of me and they hit me completely head on, and I blacked out. And the next thing I know, I come to, and I went through the windshield. I wasn't wearing a seatbelt because I was young and stupid. Um, and I had blood running down my face, but for all intents and purposes, I was in pretty good shape for going through a windshield of a tiny, tiny sports car being hit head on. And I even went with a friend. We went to the scrapyard where they took my car, and the guy at the scrapyard, he's like, "Oh my God." He said, "You survived that." And I said, "Yep, here I am. I just had like a bandage on my head," right? So in reality, I probably didn't survive that. What probably happened, what I absolutely firmly believe happened, is that I just bounced to the closest next available timeline, and my avatar continued with the game, right? So it's kind of like Jumanji, where they drop you back in. It's exactly how it works. I really firmly believe that. Um, I've had just too many close calls. And I think most of us have, a lot of us have. And I think the more of these experiences that you have, the further you are along in the game. Okay, so I kind of believe, and I believe you play till your avatar's played out. Okay, and so somebody would say that's an incarnation. So I guess you could call it that. So you're going to play until your avatar's played out, and then I believe that either you, I don't know if you get to choose. I don't know. I think there's a point where you do, but if you're not, I don't know, if you're not for far along in your levels or whatever, I think you drop into another avatar and you start playing the game again, right? It sounds kind of terrifying, like a never-ending Groundhog Day, right? But I mean, here's the cool part. You don't feel those deaths. You don't. I don't remember. I didn't feel anything when I went through that windshield. I didn't. Not a thing. And I experienced the classic slowing down of time. Felt really just kind of out of sorts for days. I mean, obviously, I was, somewhat injured, but, um, more than that, I just kind of felt like a stranger in my own body. I don't know if that makes sense. But yeah, the more of these experiences you have, like if you've ever had like a serious illness, and the next thing you know, the doctor comes in and says, "Oh, you've either had like a spontaneous remission, or they had the wrong diagnosis, or um, that probably isn't the case. You probably expired, and your body just your consciousness moved into um the next readily available timeline." I know it's really hard to wrap your head around, but I firmly believe that's what's going on. And I've done a lot of research on the Mandela effect, and again, something I'm not going to define and go into. I'm going to assume that most people know what that is. So there are people that don't experience the Mandela effect at all. They're like, no, you're just misremembering. And then there are people like me who are so extremely Mandela affected that it is disturbing. I've had personal Mandela effects. I've had birthmarks that have moved to a different leg and then moved back again. I'm just extremely Mandela affected, and there's a lot of people that are. Okay, and my theory is that if you're one of those people that are extremely Mandela affected, your avatar has reached a really high level in the game, and you're probably getting ready to you're gathering enough information and experience that you're gonna exit the simulation. And I think when you're conscious, this is what I think happens. I really want to know the truth. I think when your consciousness becomes aware of the simulation and the fact that you're in a simulation, I think that's the point where consciousness, during your last avatar, whatever your last level, you're going to exit that simulation, and I think then you get to I think you get to go somewhere different, and I think you get to make some choices. That's what I think. How does that look? Gosh, I'm not sure. I don't have all the answers, but I do think that there's a lot of us that are that are to that level where we're aware and we're manipulating our reality. And when you get to that level, here's what I'm going to say. It's like, since Mike died, I was doing okay. Like right after he died, like after the first couple of weeks, I was actually doing pretty good. And then, like I said, I got into autumn and I was doing all that work with Law of Attraction. I figured a bunch of stuff out, which was really fun and really exciting. And then I'm like, this isn't fun anymore, right? I'm like, well, this isn't exciting. This isn't fun. And I got to tell you, since then, life has just become kind of blah, I just don't look forward to anything. I know it sounds terrible. I'm just not really excited about anything, and I don't feel the need to manufacture any excitement for myself. I don't want to go through any more difficulties. And that's another thing. If you've had a really hard life, you're probably a high level player, because you're going to manufacture those experiences to so that you can have a more rich and fulfilling avatar experience, right? So, that's another way you can really tell. if if you're a higher level player getting ready to exit the simulation. But yeah, since then I've just been kind of blah, and I'm like, why am I feeling like this is not like me. And like, it all just kind of came together today. I'm like, oh, I don't know, I just put it all together. And before I would have said, oh well, it's my guides showing me information. Gosh, I don't know that that's true anymore, you guys. And I don't know how that works with your guides. I think it might be, and I'm not saying guides aren't real, but I think we manufacture them, like we do our entire reality, right? So I think when you're working with your guides, what you're really working with are like expressions of your own consciousness that you manufacture to assist you in the simulation. I don't know. Does that make it any less real? No, I don't think so. I think it's okay. I think I'm okay with that, right? And I think also as a medium, when we have people that exit our experience, here in this current timeline, we kind of they will do that. I don't know if there's a prior agreement. I'm not sure how that works, but it is really more all to just so that we can have that full rich experience and experience things like grief and loss, right? Don't know that it's all about learning lessons. And I really don't believe in karma anymore, you guys. I think that's manufactured too. I don't think you have to buy into that. Soul contracts, nope, not buying it. I'm not buying it anymore. You're in complete control. That's what I want you to know, and that's the good news. Um, if you want to hang out here and do a bunch more, you know, uh, avatar experiences, probably can do that. It's so funny because even before I really came to fully accept this information, I kept telling my friends, I'm like, God, I kept telling them, I'm like, don't be surprised if I don't exit the plane soon. And they're like, don't say that, don't say that. But I mean, it's not a big deal, right? It's completely not a big deal, because I'm really burned out. I'm absolutely just burned out on this whole experience. I've had the experience, like my friend Gabrielle says, we bought the all day wackadoo pass to Earth, and I think I'm ready to, I'm ready for the amusement park to close, because I don't want to get on another ride. I don't want any more cotton candy, and I don't want any more corn dogs. I'm done. I'm really just really bored. There is one more experiment I'm gonna do, and it's gonna be a big one. And if I can pull this off, it'll be huge. So I have to kind of set this up with my friends, because it's gonna involve writing it down and then putting it in a sealed envelope with a really tight chain of command so that there's no doubt. But if I can pull this off, I think it will prove. I think it'll prove without a shadow of a doubt, that my theory about the simulation. Um, I don't know how people are going to take this information. I think, like I said, I think it's really unsettling for a lot of people. Um, and it was a little unsettling for me in the beginning. I'm like, whoa, whoa, because it challenges everything. If you've ever had any religious teachings, it really challenges everything that you've been taught. If you have been part of the spiritual community that talks about Earth School, and that we're here to learn lessons and all of that, it challenges that. Um, it just really shakes stuff up. But I think once you wrap your head around it, I think you'll come to see it as a good thing. And I can't believe I'm saying this, because it really bugged me for a while. I really spent a lot of time pondering this, and even kind of like letting it kind of worry me. And now I'm like, well, shoot, this isn't necessarily a bad thing. Um, what I want to say is that I've talked about it before. How do you know that this is, that you're a high level game player, and that would they would also call in the spiritual community, they call those people old souls. Okay, so I'm just looking at it from like simulation theory. How do you know that you're a high level player and you're getting ready to wrap up this avatar experience? Well, spirit will leave little breadcrumbs for you, and one of the ways that you'll get those little breadcrumbs are through like repeating numbers. So one of mine that's really good is I was born at 10:10 in the morning. So the number 10 is a completion number. It's the number of completion. So 10:10, yeah, big confirmation that this is really an important level for me, and it's probably a completion level. So I don't know. I just really feel that. Ever since I found my birth certificate, I hadn't even looked at it in years, and I found it and I went, oh, wow, that's really cool. And then I'm like, no, that's really profound. I've really it's really changed my thinking about spirituality and mediumship and spirits and just everything. And like I said, I haven't figured all of it out. I have a lot of unanswered questions, things like people talk about earthbound spirits, haven't figured out how that plays in here yet. But hopefully those answers will come. But I think I'm left now with more questions than answers, which might actually keep me around here a little longer. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I know my soul's really tired, but what I want you to know is that like your world isn't what you think it is, and um, the less you react when you're encountering difficulties, work really hard on not reacting to those things. If you can get in a place where you're just kind of an observer, they'll kind of stop happening because it's not fun anymore. I don't know who controls this thing, but as long as you're reacting to things that are thrown at you, it's going to continue to happen. But like the best way to stop it is just to stop playing. Like think about it. If you're playing Donkey Kong, what happens if you just stop the avatar, right? um I guess maybe you get rolled over by a barrel. I don't know. I haven't played in a long time, but my point is the best way to keep things from happening to you is you just stop playing, and you stop reacting. And when you stop reacting, then you're in the driver's seat, and you have greater control over the experiences that your avatar has. And it's like I said, it takes a little practice, it takes a little time to figure it out. But I mean, if you really want to get to that level, it's definitely possible. And it really starts with just proving to yourself that that this is a simulation. And like I said, there's lots of ways you can do that. But like if you're a person, again, like if you've had a lot of Mandela effects, if you're a seriously Mandela affected person, um that's probably a pretty good indicator that you're one of these higher level players. Another thing that you'll experience I haven't touched on is, I don't know if you've ever like been in the middle of something and you have like this horrible stabbing pain, like a horrible chest pain, or this awful pain in your leg out of nowhere, and it just lasts for a little bit, and then it disappears as quick as it came. Yeah, folks, those are that's bleed through from another timeline. Okay, and the same with people, when you like hear somebody call your name and nobody's there. I think more often than not, again, that's just residue, or things that are coming through from another timeline. But that's my personal opinion. I know this is probably going to bring up a lot of opinions, but I'm just working from experience, and just kind of like working from a claircognizant, psychic knowing, that I've always had. So, am I wrong? Gosh, maybe. But I'm just kind of continuing to work to prove this to myself. And like I said, I am going to conduct this really big experiment. So if I can pull it off, we might be getting somewhere. Anyway, I just gave you some food for thought, and went a little longer than I planned to. I am going to expand on this. You know, with some other videos, and we're going to explore it a little more in depth, kind of pick it apart a little bit, but wanted to put this out there. And again, don't let it scare you, and just kind of roll with it. Be the observer. That's how you get through this. The most effective way is to just be an observer. So anyway, let me know what you think. I would love to know what your thoughts are. Try to be respectful. If you think I'm batshit nuts, that's fine. Just say it in a respectful way, and then tell me what you think, and we can have a discussion, because that's really what it's all about. We're all just really here to learn from each other, and to at the end of the day, it's really just gotta have fun with it. I'm to that point. Like, just have fun. That's my parting advice. Have fun with it. Just remember, it's just a simulation. None of it's real. And just relax, have fun, and don't take anything too serious. And I think you'll be in a great position. Anyway, have a great Friday night. Have fun, but not too much fun. And we will see you in the next one. Pick up some new subscribers. Thank you guys so much for giving me your time and attention. It's greatly appreciated. And like I said, if you'd leave me some comments on what you think, I'd love that. Anyway, have a great one.